that scared me, thank you, last week. Although remember, there is no beginning, there is no middle, and there really is no end. That's a delusion, honestly. There is only the now and the now. And when we live in that way, everything is new, everything is fresh, everything is crisp, all the words we were using about that cold weather. And mostly what I will say I know about it is that I smile. I smile in it. Like, wow, who, right? This gorgeous coffee, I didn't even have to make it. Libby walked in and made it for me. What a, right, exciting way to begin the day that is. It looks like it's going to be sunny out there. That's pretty amazing. Does that mean then that we only point towards the good? We only direct our attention to the pleasant? Well, we know for sure, and it says so in the book, that to do that's going to cause suffering. And it's going to cause certain suffering, because the whole other reality that we're always attending to, and that is also every breath moment, is the realities of aging, illness, death, and loss, the realities of impermanence, the realities of the preciousness and the impermanence of this life, the reality that everything is changing every moment, and that you can keep, hold, secure nothing. And so then the work is, for me, in my everyday, how do I do both? How do I make sure to look left and right so that I'm speaking to something larger than my preference? And this is the in-between state, larger than me, we could say, larger than mine, larger than I like this more than that, you don't. Now, because you don't and I do, there's an inherent tension, conflict, or aversion, and the difficulties that arise and the difficulties. Last week, we were talking, and in Saturday practice, we were talking about how to use the reality of this perceived and delusional other. No reality. They are you, you are them. It is always true. As a awakening bell, then, wait a minute, I'm placing you in the otherness because of something I'm grasping, something I'm clinging to, or something I'm rejecting and pushing away. What's the rejection? You're not me. It's that simple, isn't it? You're not me. You're not doing it my way. You're not saying it my way. You're not looking the way I want you to look or think somebody should look if they're saying it. You're not. The delusion wins. And it wins and it wins and it wins, so that it's so easy for us, isn't it, to simply become complainers about life as we perceive the whole thing impossibly as other. Not this, I don't want this weather. I don't want this day. I don't want it to be Tuesday. I don't want it to be, right? I already want the stone done. I don't want to have to pull up all that grass, right? And then we struggle. And so the non-meditation meditation that we're going to go back to today says nothing is other, nothing is to struggle against. There are no separate objects, actually. They are only screens upon which you are projecting your bullshit. To put it in my Chicago carpenter vernacular, just screens upon which you are projecting your pain, your fear, your confusion. And then there's only one solution. What is it? Now we know what the problem is. What's the solution? Recognizing it and making a choice about it. Recognizing this is something in me, wanting something else, wanting it the old way, wanting it another way, and then, right, rejecting the perceived object and closing ourselves off all the more, tightening all the more, getting smaller and smaller and smaller, because we cannot tolerate then life. Now we can't tolerate it because it's not doing me or mine, right? We understand. This was the book, and the book says, then instead of propagate all that distress for ourselves and possibly for others, we can practice and train in opening right there. Not that we're going to get rid of that experience. And by the way, the book says not that we have to, because we don't. We can actually use it all in the beautiful practice of non-meditation meditation, where we're going to go now, and you're going to notice, I didn't want that. I didn't want to see that. I didn't want to hear that. I didn't want to feel that, right? And see if rather than contract, rather than resist, rather than separate, we could simply recognize, allow the experience, and open. Right? So we'll do it again. See how we do. Make sense to everyone? Is there anyone out there after the book going, I don't know. I don't know what she just said. I don't know why she just said it. I just wish she'd shut up. You do wish I would just shut up. That is actually true, because I remember hearing my teacher for a really long time and just thinking, if she just stopped talking about that, I think the whole thing could be better. If she just stopped talking about, I'm ultimately responsible for my own suffering, my own happiness, this could go a lot better. If she'd just agree with me, it was my husband, I think this whole thing could be over. I could just be on my way, a full Zen master. If she could just go, never happened. She loved me too much. I will tell you, she loved me too much to buy into the delusion. And I love you too much to buy into it with you. Right? Now, sometimes that looks a little like tough love, and maybe it is, because like, just knock it off, because it costs everyone too much, right? It costs everyone way too much. We cannot afford it, can we? And you can't afford it, and I can't afford it either. So let's practice non-meditation meditation. I'm going to take one more sip. I'm going to make sure the doggy's settled. He's under there. He's got a spot. And so we're not going to ring the bell again this morning. We're going to go a little bit back into the tradition of the Tibetans in the non-meditation Karma Kagyu lineage. Dalai Lama is in the Galug tradition, just slight differences from different regions, but they all say the same thing. And so just finding your way towards the body, and I like to just move mine a minute and let some of that old dust from the evenings fall away. And then we're going to find that open space. It's very difficult not to land on an object, but we've been training enough with this that we might be able to find that open space, a place where the eye can rest. And I'm having a little trouble off this way because I'm looking at the computer, and that is not the practice. And I'm doing a little better when I come over here, so I'm going to do that. And you find that open space in which the eye can rest. And of course, you're going to consistently bump into objects, and that's not a problem at all. And I'm seeing the rug, and I'm seeing Libby's feet, and I'm seeing the bottom of the table. And remember, no object is a problem. So we don't want to get caught there, but neither do we want to rest attention there. We want to rest attention in the open space, soften the eyes, relax the eyelids, drop the shoulders back a little bit. And in that softened gaze, we're going to let the eyes, leave them there, relaxed. We're just going to notice that we're breathing. And we're going to stay engaged with the experience, the direct, bare experience of the breath, however it is, for several breaths. This will stabilize us as we orient into a non-seeing, if you could imagine it that way, non-seeing. It's not the same as not seeing. Non-seeing simply means objects arising and passing without placement of attention. And what happens for many people, especially if this is not a regular practice for you, is that your mind starts going, I don't get this, and this doesn't seem like meditating. And just recognizing that some resistance, some little bit of confusion, not liking the idea of not getting it right, um, happens. And just being aware of those arising and passing thoughts. I don't like this one. This is harder. I like closing my eyes because I just want to zen out. Um, and the reason this practice is so vital is that this is the practice we take into our everyday. And let's just rest here, relaxing and softening the body, getting rid of those old habits of tension and tightness. And when I say get rid of course, I don't mean shove away. I mean simply allow them to soften. Always already awake. Watch for the habits, the entertainment, I like to call it, of things like counting, uh, measuring the breath. Oh, there's a short one. Oh, there's a long one. Ah, that one's smooth. I like that one better. We become analyzers of the breath. This is wrong practice. Not that it's not interesting, but it's not formal, non-meditation meditation. So we recognize that the mind's looking and has a habit for a narrative, ongoing running narrative. See if you can't keep resting that aside and just coming back to the softened open space. The 3 R's practice, we have done the 6 R's practice, is really useful here. And so, because we're just holding the open space, also with the I door, there is a little bit of ease in catching the mind moving off of that open space. It's fairly easy. All of a sudden, you're looking at the rug, and that's considered not open space. All of a sudden, I see the edge of the keyboard. And again, without criticisms, without resistance, there is no failure here. It is in the knowing that our mindfulness is grown. It is in the knowing where the mind is. And so we recognize, that's the first R. We release from whatever object the mind has landed on, including thoughts, sounds, sensations, images, opinions, whatever self narrative, other narrative is going on. And we return the third R again and again to rest in the open space. And we smile a lot when we see that the mind has been carried off so completely in the storyline. You caught the whole storyline. It's useful when we do that to see what it was, right? Is it I'm thinking about the yard, I'm hearing, I think, the gardener in the yard possibly, and that just triggered a whole set of thoughts about I got to get stone, and then I got to make sure to get the right DG, and that I can see that in its occurrence, in its arising, is an absolutely spectacular thing. I can make a decision now. Do I want to take time in that reflection or thinking or planning? I don't. I do know it's on my mind. That's good to know that there's some thinking to be done about that. And I'm going to make the decision to just place that aside and come back to this present moment. Recognize, release, return, and rest. I would like us to be practicing this throughout the day. watching for the tendency to get into some kind of resistance with arising objects. This is an important characteristic to notice. Feeling the pull away from objects is as important as noticing the draw towards the object. And see what you notice there. Once you recognize the arising object, see if you can't fully release. And it's not just the thought, it's not just the object, it is the whole body's configuration of attachment, the moving towards, the wanting or craving that comes with the object, and or the resistance, the not wanting, the aversion, the not liking. So we're really releasing back into open space all of the mind body habit. And beginning again. The eyes may close at times throughout the practice, one for just a rest, the other for clearing the field, the visual field, and all that's very workable, um, very appropriate. And then with a short rest, we open the eyes again. Remember, we're de-stimulating, maybe it'd be a way to think of it, de-stimulating the eye door from its grasping, clinging, pushing away nature with objects. Very automatic. No objects are a problem. Objects simply arising and passing. What's interesting is the relationship of mind to the object. Is it clinging? Is it pushing away? Moving towards, grasping, clinging, or just seeing, arising and passing? Non reactivity, non judgment, non attachment. You can get the sense of how active the practice is, how available the noticing. And then beyond the noticing of the object itself for the last few moments, we're going to see what the dialogue is, maybe what the old habits are as it relates to what we say. Is it a gentle coming back invitation? Is it a you're getting it wrong again? What's the point of this? This is too hard. I'm not a good meditator. Watch for the narrative. It's playing. And you're taking that with you throughout your day, that very narrative. What is the self story you're telling? in a world of pleasant and unpleasant. With pain and gain, blame and fame. Can we stabilize the mind so that we can receive and be open to it all? Not carried away or shut down by our preferences. And may we gather all of that attention, that cultivated mindfulness, and then direct it towards goodwill, directed towards friendship, towards compassion, towards joy and equanimity. And can we know by a felt sense the power of this collected heart mind, this bodhicitta? And we make the offering. May we all be happy. We offer of goodwill. May we all be free from pain and suffering. We offer compassion. May we all be joyful and grateful for our blessings and wish those blessings for others. Joy through generosity. May we rest and dwell in these worldly winds with ease and equanimity. Stable, grounded, present, and free from affliction. Grasping at nothing, rejecting nothing, ignoring nothing, seeing it all. And I would normally be ringing a bell about now, but I happen to have little man in my lap, all tied up in my arms here. And so just beginning to take a moment and slowly, when you're ready, open your eyes. And share my little creature down there. That's the bell preventer right there. That guy, he's not moving. He's got a very unmoving mind right now. That's what we love about animals, don't we? So just checking in on the body, seeing what habits have reestablished themselves there. If you have a tendency to tighten up the neck, just noticing that habit, that's a habit of mind first, just so you know, and then becomes a habit that we can recognize in the body. My neck always tightens up a little bit. And I work even during the practice to try to keep that area loose, fluid, flowing, available. And my habit nature is there. And so I just notice that it gets a little grab. Watchful of, again, condemning the body, the mind for that, just seeing if we can't stay in the noticing. And so, what insights might have been available to you in this practice of non meditation meditation? What about today? Did you bring awareness or insight to?
The constant grabbing nature of my mind. Constant. And so there are gaps, and there are times when it's completely quiet, it's not grasping, and then the next moment it's grasping for something.
That's right. It's so beautiful to see that with eyes open, isn't it? I was resting the eyes near the rug myself, and all of a sudden I saw a bunch of owls, and I thought, oh, those are really cute. Oops, wait, that's not exactly the meditation. And then I saw a bunch of skeletons. I thought, oh, that's not so pleasant. That's not the meditation. And then I remembered that is the meditation. Actually, it is in the seeing. It is in the recognizing these very autopiloted habits of mind. And if I don't see that, if I don't recognize that this is the entertaining, playing, wanting, and not wanting nature of mind, I cannot wake up. I can't wake up. And so we like this idea of meditation being the big gap, just resting in the bliss of nothingness. And it's not, it isn't that it doesn't happen. And in fact, it does happen. And in fact, we point towards that at times in the practice, particularly jhana practice, for example, high concentration absorption states where the mind has got nothing, not even the breath, right? And there's value and benefit in that practice as well, and often with feelings of rapture, they call it, or bliss or joy. But by the way, the Buddha himself said this is not sufficient. All that juicy, all that joy, all that bliss is still temporary. It's still not based on that open space. It's based on some grasping at something, even the concentrated mind. And in fact, we know that the concentrated mind itself is very habitual. It's like a drug. It's like a drug. And you can really chase after that, really strive for that. And in fact, I've just had 2 talks with 2 of our Sangha where I actually said, look, we're going to come up with a different practice because you're really grabbing on to, boy, that's pretty good. I love being there. I'm even practicing longer. I'm really enjoying the practice. And I'm like, uh-oh, this is addict mind. Addict mind has got a hold, is seeking, wanting more. And can we recognize it? And with the wholehearted compassion and love that I talked about my teacher having, say, this will not be the way to the end of suffering, because it will not. In fact, we can almost guarantee that there will be more. Why? When I can't grab it, when I can't get it, when I can't, what do I do? Grasping, craving, now rejecting mind at play. Seeing it is the path and the practice. And then what? Opening. Oh, here I am. I can make a choice and I can bring this unconditional friendliness to the realities of mind without being caught up by them. And so, in fact, there is no my mind, is there? There's no such thing. There's just the mind. And it's very familiar habits. And it is the same for all of us, by the way. I want to go to chat because I see a couple of things written here and I want to make sure to capture those as well. Yeah, argument with life, it's for sure, Greg. You were saying that earlier on. We all want what we want and we want it a certain way and we don't like it when we don't get it that way. Believe we're broken, the other's broken, or life itself is failed. Siobhan says, thank you. She had to leave early. Girl Scout cookies came to mind. Oh boy, don't they? Did I order enough for my granddaughter? Exactly right. And did I get the right kind? I showed up with some Girl Scout cookies the other day and then got the word that those were not the peanut butter cookies that everybody was looking for. There you go. So, right. You can imagine what I was thinking when I heard that. Oh, not those cookies. There's a better. Oh, really? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. My Chicago carpenter vernacular came back to mind there. Like, really, not those cookies. Dennis says, I felt with my eyes open a pumping in and out from my heart and soul. Yes, you can actually, isn't it interesting, Dennis? There's actually, when the eye is resting, there actually is, if you're really paying attention, this actual expanding, contracting view, it is from our actual pulse that you can pick up. Anybody else catch that? You can actually go bloop, bloop. It's the actual heart rate pulsing, and you can see it even in the eye door. Whoop, whoop. And that's just a refined attention, we call it refined attention, that picks up even subtle, what we also call subtle objects. That means that the attention is still enough that we can even catch the sense of the pulse, for some people at the heart space, other people at the temple, right? Some people can get it even in here, the carotid, and in the eye door. Watch for that next time. It's a very interesting thing to notice. So much fear in being still. Yeah, don't we? We think as long as we're dancing, it's all going to be all right. That's the die with your boots on model. Doesn't actually work. And recognizing that, however, is beautiful. That I can see as long as I got something going on, right? And then we recognize that we are using that frequently as a distraction device. As long as I'm something, it'll all be okay. It's not actually also correct. So we have to be careful about that. Chris had to go as well. What other, for those of you who are still here, what other insights did you have either today or that you have discovered in this set of practices throughout these many weeks? Opportunity to share them.
It's exactly what's going on all day. So this is the meditation always.
Yeah, we don't want to separate from the truth of the mind in the whole of our lives, do we? This is I think, one of the primary mistakes of meditation, the way we use meditation practice as a spiritual bypassing. Get me out of here. Get me in a quiet, refuge, safe, other place. Whoops, that's a problem, because guess where we spend 23 hours and 30 minutes every day, right there in it. And so we have to be watchful of this tendency to seek refuge in something other than our everyday minds, our everyday life, our everyday habits, because without recognizing them, we cannot become wakeful skillful, and then kind, right? As I watch my own habits every day, the truth is I am much more tolerant of other people and theirs. I'm much more tolerant. I recognize, oh yeah, that mind, just like me, that mind, that wanting to get there, that thinking I have to get there faster than you have to get there, so I get to speed or not really stop or forget to turn on my blinker. And I have a lot of explanations for that, as just a fun example. And what do I direct towards the other? You. That mind in you that's unattractive and unpleasant and unwanted. I like to call it my sitting around mind, because I don't have a habit for sitting around. I have a lot of aversion to people just sitting around. It's unbelievable. You would not believe, what is everybody doing? They're absolutely doing nothing. Now, by the way, this is a total storyline. This is completely a narrative. What am I thinking? Everyone needs rest and right stillness. And do we always have? Of course, my real mind, the one that's whole, knows. And yet, I walk in the door. My husband's playing solitaire for the 50 billionth time. I don't know what he's doing, and that mind goes. Really? You could be doing like 100,000 other things. You're just playing solitaire. But I recognize it as my this is useful. I cause less harm. First to myself, believing that the other is somehow failed, and then to the other by not going, really? That's all you could figure out to do for 2 hours before you went to teach your class? Great. Right? And be careful, because I'm very convincing. Isn't it? That mind is very convincing. It's got a lot of rationale for why what I just thought is true. Right? It doesn't it? It's like 100%. I could talk you all into it. I could write a dissertation about it. I could probably win an award for those belief thoughts and how much I hold them. And can I remember in that moment, this is the path to certain suffering. This is it right here. An opinion about the other doing whatever they are or are not doing. The path to certain guaranteed suffering. And then we, with recognition and with that essential kindness, can simply release, let be for a moment, just at least a moment, so we can figure out what's really important. And it doesn't mean it isn't important, but you don't want it to come from that habit mind. You want it to come from something that considers the whole circle. And if anybody knew my husband, what they would know is that he spends most of the day doing all kinds of things. Right? If you could look wider and see the whole truth of it.
Right. So I noticed how easily I get pulled and how strong the pull is. Like during the meditation, I wanted to look up a Spanish word. I was so pulled that guess what? I looked it up.
Yes.
And it's like, why did I need to know? Because I wanted to send something to my future in-law. And I was thinking of the Spanish word, and it's crazy. And I noticed that in like everyday life too, how easily I could be doing one thing with whomever, and my mind is just pulled. And I noticed it also with how connected, or I should really say disconnected, we are with our phones, is that, sitting with other people or with my stepkids, how we could be watching something together or having dinner together, and they're so pulled to the phone for nothing. I mean, they're also, who knows what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
it's actually often scrolling.
but that mind, it's so strong. I mean, it's got
Yeah.
such a pull. And
Yeah.
a million times I said, nope, right here, nope, right here, until it was like, and it was ridiculous. Like, what? It's like, if the house was burning down, okay, but it was like ridiculous, and I had to do it. I couldn't stop. I mean, I could. This time I couldn't.
Yes. I think it's just, once again, can we recognize the truth of this, the potency, the veracity, the fierceness of the habit-natured mind? Can we recognize that? And then have a lot of humility, right? A lot of humility comes in to go, whoa, wow. I call that watermelon mind. I thought about it for 3 days in a 30-day meditation. Watermelon, watermelon, watermelon. Get up to get the watermelon, sit back down. Get up to cut the watermelon, sit back down. Think about cutting the watermelon, thinking about how pink the watermelon is, thinking about the smell of that watermelon, the taste of that watermelon. I had that watermelon in my hand, literally during one of my sitting meditations. That's the power of that habit addict natured mind. Can we feel for ourselves in that? Because we all have it. Don't lie to yourself thinking you don't, and then feel for yourself, because we know that right from there, we are losing precious moments, lost in craving. Well, craving is the #1 source of suffering. Wanting something else. If I only had that watermelon, if I only had that word, if I only had that boyfriend, if I only had that job, if I only had a different wife, if I only had a better yard, if I only had a new car, if I only had those earrings, if only, if only, if only, if I could only get it, and if I could only get rid of it, then, right? Then I could drop in. Can we recognize with humility? And then I think with a little grace, compassion may actually creep in on it to go, wow, this is the nature of the mind. Not your mind, Cindy, not my mind, the mind. And it's all of us, and we all have it. Can we feel the truth of this? This is big work. That's what the Buddha said, noble. Look at how big that word is. This is noble practice. Why? Man, it's hard. Nobody wants to do it. It's easier to be caught up in craving and not wanting, just wanting, not wanting mine. Much simpler work and suffering. And I don't want that suffering. I really don't. I want to be free of that, both for myself and the world. I don't want that suffering. And we happen to live in a time and in a place where that kind of suffering is big time. Big time. You can't get a big enough diamond ring in Southern California. You can't get enough plastic surgery. You can't have enough Lululemon. It's not possible. Is it? It's not possible. It's not going to happen. Is it? The whole big conversation I recently just saw about Madonna going, you know, all the stuff she did to her face. Well, that's all of us wanting something else called getting older and our intolerance, isn't it? All of ours. Intolerance.
I found that I was just planning. That's my favorite thing to do ever, is just plan and plan.
You have a great planning mind.
And I was, so I've been doing these morning pages every day for the past, like, I think I'm on week 6 now. And I found today even, which I thought was very interesting, that, you know, I have this plan that I'm doing for work, and I'm writing about that. And then all of a sudden I've got another thing that I'm putting on top of that. Like, oh, I've got to do this too. And it's just that it was interesting to see that, because I did that right before we sat. And then when we sat, it was that plus the frustration from work, and, you know, why can't they be like this? And it brought to mind the chapter, I don't remember what chapter it was, but there was the slogan, "Don't be swayed by external circumstances."
Yes.
And that's definitely been a credo. And I liked your example of looking at it from the 16th floor and the traffic below as a witness of.
Yeah.
Just trying to give myself compassion as I continuously went back to
Yes.
plan and figuring it out and finding the answer. Like there's some, instead of just opening. So it was,
And don't we love that? Don't we love the idea of knowing, fixing, solving, creating, inging something out there, because we're busy and we're accomplishing, and it feels graspable. See, that feels graspable. Like Cindy could go, I could look up that word and then I'll know it. And then when I know it, it goes good. I'm good. And then when I have my plan for my yard and I make the plan and Juan and I go get all those stuff and I get the yard in, then it'll be good. Then life will be good. And think about this, all those moments added up equal more of your life than you are going to want to spend doing something besides being in life, called thinking about it, which is no substitute for it. And I mean 0%. All the thinking about life does not equal a life. Does it? No, it doesn't. Not 1 ounce of thinking about it, planning for it, drawing the objectives, developing a curriculum, the 90 things I got in the day. Not one of those things makes a life. Not one. And we have to be watchful, because the making is the arriving, the presence, the being here. And we all like to be so busy and get things done. Check, 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 including my mind that was going, what's everybody doing? What are y'all doing? Just sitting around? Everybody's sitting around. This is incredible, right? That's really incredible how much we can just all sit around. But by the way, what else is there to, who needs to do anything? Technically, unless you're using just sitting around as a distraction or as a shutdown or as a, right? But just why we watch people sit there and look at the water for hours. Right? They're called surfers. That's all they do, sitting there looking at the water. They may have it on us. Right? They may have it on us. So let's be watchful. Can we invite that recognize, release, return, and rest? Recognize, here I am in the planning, here I am in the judgment making, here I am in the accumulation. If I could only get that brick today, maybe you could get it in. Release, we're going to unhook from that, because no thinking about life replaces it. It just won't work. Get back into your own body, take a breath there, rest back, and open.
It feels like a great practice for the kindness towards yourself, right? To keep kindly going up. All right, back here.
That's right. Did anybody hear Libby? She said, this is a beautiful kindness practice, because you have to keep opening to yourself in that distracted mind, in the distracted state, in the busy, in the accumulation, in the planning. Really, there's only one response, ultimately, is to feel for ourselves in the truth of that suffering. Because remember, that is the truth of suffering. The substitute life. If I could only get it figured out. Well, whoops, it never works like that. How do I know? Well, I teach at UCSD, a lot of very smart guys. They don't have it any more together than anybody. Those guys at Salk Institute, by the way, leading scientists on brain research in the world. Guess what? Not 1 minute more mindful. Thinking about the brain, how it works, what we're going to do with it. And they hate each other. This is how you know. They hate each other because everything is a competition. They hate each other. They can hardly sit next to each other in a cubicle, because you might get the NIH money I want. You might get the grant I want. You might get that money from MD Anderson for cancer in the brain that I want. So I'm not talking to you. I'm not collaborating with you. I'm not telling you anything. And how sad is this? And we propagate it. Is worse, don't we? We go, you're good because you got all the money. You're good. You got all the money. No, you're not good. You're slick. You're greedy. Right? This is our reality. And we're working with that in our mind, not somebody else's every day, all day. The greedy mind in us, the wanting it for myself mind in us, the not wanting to share with anybody mind in us. This is the practice. So recognize, unhook. We don't mistake it as us. Don't do it. Don't mistake it. That's not your mind. That's the mind doing what the mind does, wanting and not wanting. Hey, I saw it. Good news. Yippee. Shout it out loud. Yippee. I saw it. Right back into the body. Let me take a breath or two here, re-anchor myself in the present, and what? Rest. Rest, and then begin again. We're going to do that all week. Let's see how it goes. Let's see what we capture in both awareness of and then compassion with, right? This is what'll happen. Boy, can I feel for myself and others who get caught up like this, who get lazy, like dropped in like this, who get forget about it. I'm just not going to do anything mind like this. We know them all, actually. They are not separate from us. Let's see if we can't feel for ourselves and those others who may be caught in that moment as well. There's only one mind to work with, though. You don't have to tell anybody what they're doing. It's not that helpful. Doesn't get much. What's the job? Can I recognize this in me, this moment? And can I unhook this moment and open and awaken once again? It's a beautiful practice. I will look forward to hearing about that from all of you. Be thinking about your St. Andrew's items, please. Food stuff that we need to feed others. There is no reason, is there, for hunger in this world. It's ridiculous. I can't get over that we're still struggling with that after all this time. Still, we still cannot figure out how to distribute so that everyone has enough to eat. It's an insanity. Let's not contribute to that. Greg will be here this Thursday at 7. I will be there also, looking forward to that. And then Saturday in the garden. And you will see the progress we're making on expanding our patio a little bit so that lots of people can get on. And here's Dennis with his little turtle. Yep, that's adorable. We all, let's peek those heads out a little bit today. May we all. Blessings to you all. May we all be filled with loving kindness. And may we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease like a turtle in water. And may we then be truly happy. No craving, no grasping, no clinging, no reactivity, no judgment, no needing to be anywhere else. And blessings to you all. Have an absolutely beautiful day. It looks pretty sunny here. I hope the same for you guys, Seth and Courtney. Hope it's a great day. All right, everyone, much love.